All right, here we go again. It is Tape Over Traits. It is episode 4. It is time to talk safeties, and I am Bob Sturm. My friend Dominic Robinson is with us as well, and we are ready to break it down for you for this 2026 NFL draft season. Dominic, we are cooking right through the defense. Before long, we're going to actually have to talk about a little offense at some point, I guess, but it's heavy defense if you're a Cowboy fan.
It is, man, and there's a lot to talk about, and especially with this safety position. But every position that we've talked about, we haven't had a disappointment yet. And you know, I just remember last year there were no linebackers.
Right.
This year it's loaded. Edges are loaded, and I think this safety class is not loaded. I wouldn't call it loaded, but it's pretty strong. So
yeah, it's not the year where you want a quarterback or a running back or a tight end probably, but everything else is pretty well stocked. And if you need a quarterback, maybe you're picking number 1. Who can say? But we'll worry about that when we get down the road into April. But if you want to see previous episodes, we did the edges in episode 1. We did the corners in episode 2. Linebackers were episode 3. Now we're going to go do safeties, and then we'll do DTs as episode 5, and then we'll see where we go from there. I started messing around with draft simulations this morning, Dominic. I started trying to run the models, trying to figure out, okay, if Jackson Smith and Jigba gets 42 a year, then George Pickens is going to want, let's say, 35 to 38 to maybe 40 for his asking price, and that's where I think the Cowboys tap out. So now does that bring wide receiver back into play in round 1? So I got a lot of wheels spinning here, but we're going to stay focused on safeties today to do the best we can to cover that, because we do think safety is a spot where the Cowboys would probably be interested in dancing in round 1, and it's a pretty fun group. So
yeah, and I just talking about the simulations. I always hop on the simulator before I talk to you, because it gets me in the right headspace, and I know you're locked on the simulator.
Yes, sir.
So today, Caleb Downs, we're talking about safeties, and Caleb Downs dropped to the Cowboys at 12.
Okay.
And, how'd you feel about that, Bob? Are you buying stock in Caleb Downs at 12?
I don't want to give away my rankings, but I would turn in the card right now if you're interested in where I am on him.
It kind of made my head, so I was just like, whoa, that hadn't happened I've run a lot of simulations, and that doesn't normally happen, and so
so the one on Sturm Stack this morning, and we are recording this on March 23rd. So the one that I ran this morning, or I ran a couple of them, but the first one, Arvell Reese slid to number 12, and somebody said, "What sort of simulation are you using? That's impossible. There's no way he gets to number 12." And I said, "You're right. It's very, very unlikely that Arvell Reese or Caleb Downs are there at 12. However, you and I were both working drafts when CeeDee Lamb fell. When Aaron Rodgers fell, I was working the draft. And I remember the night before, he was debated as the number 1 overall pick, and Aaron Rodgers, I think, fell to 24. 24 from number 1. And so we can debate whether everybody was wrong, but we better, even if you're picking 24th, we better have a plan to what are we going to do in our draft room if we don't need a quarterback because we have Brett Favre, but Fernando Mendoza falls right in our laps. What are we going to do as a organization? These are the things these teams have to be prepared for, because the last thing you want to do is not do your due diligence, and then a player falls to you, and you suddenly think to yourself, he's only falling to me because there's something wrong with him, because everyone else thinks there's something wrong with him, and I don't want to be the one dumb franchise that makes a horrible mistake here. Well, Ted Thompson and the Packers took Aaron Rodgers, and I think we all agree he's going right to the Hall of Fame when he's done. So they were prepared, and that should inspire all of us, whether it's CeeDee Lamb or Aaron Rodgers or some other player I'm not thinking of, to not worry about the mocks for months telling us that it's impossible that so-and-so can fall to us at whatever number. We have to have a plan of what if the 1% chance happens, because that 1% might be franchise altering, Dominic.
Yeah. I mean, the year when Randy Moss was sliding, I think
Yes.
17 teams. I mean, hell, even Micah Parsons at 12 is.
Oh, yeah.
You probably weren't expecting that. And so I think the thing that you and I know from being such draft nerds is somebody is going to fall. That's the thing, is when you do these simulations and you get a Caleb Downs or an Arvell Reese, you can go, okay, that's probably not likely. But the truth is, if you follow enough drafts, you know, literally every single draft, someone falls that you are not expecting. So it's foolish to just say, oh, he's the best safety that's ever, played. He won't fall. It's like
he's out of our range.
It happens with every draft. So you like you said, you have to be prepared for it.
Yes. Okay. So having said all that, let's talk about what we want in a safety, what we're looking for, and I do think if we were sitting here in 1982 doing this podcast, people would wonder what a podcast is, but we would also have a totally different view of the safety position. Same in 92, same in 2002, and on it goes. This is an evolving sport, and this is an evolving position, and so when we look for safety, I obviously appreciate what Cliff Harris and Charlie Waters did when we were little kids. But this is a different universe. Now, could they play in today's game? Probably. I'm just simply telling you that they were of a certain mold because safeties were kind of doing the same thing all the time, and kind of a too high situation, and a guy might come down to support the run, and now we see that that's just like the jumping off point. And the jumping, and honestly, they put safeties often as guys who weren't very good corners, but we still thought he was good enough to play in a game, and so let's have him do something a little less stressful. Well, now it's interesting when we look for safeties. Just imagine a slider almost on like a audio board or something, where you can put up the bass all the way or take all the bass out and just go with the treble and so forth. And I would say the slider would be cornerback is way over here and linebacker is way over here, and what we're looking for in safeties is like the right sort of recipe in between. What I want, and since you are ranking them, I'll be more interested in what you want, but I'm looking for the modern day safety, and for me that means it's a guy who can play at all three levels, and so you have the deep center or the deep half in shell coverage, too high, but often single high is cover three or man. You often have the single high safety. There is also two man. There are variations of it, but center field is your Earl Thomas type. And then your split safety, you introduce a whole other group of guys that aren't necessarily sideline to sideline range, because that's a very, very difficult thing for a safety to do. So at its basic definition, safety means you're the deepest guy, and you are making sure that we are safe against the home run, basically, the big bomb. And so that's level one, or maybe that's called playing on the roof. It's there's you're playing deep. There's a number of ways to say it, but that's your first priority, and then the middle is sort of your robber zone, your rover zone, your ability to read the quarterback's eyes and make plays on the ball, and often that does happen when you go single high. Maybe you show shell at the snap, and the two players almost line up vertically, but one guy is at almost linebacker depth, and one guy is in center field. And then the third level, of course, is what we're all excited about these days, which is big nickel, which has kind of replaced the tiny corner as the slot guy. And if this guy can cover, and if this guy can blitz, and if this guy can help fit the run and do all those things, now he becomes a bit of a linebacker, but with a much more twitchy body and a much more Swiss Army knife versatility about him. So does a safety need to obviously prevent big passes? Yes. Does he need ball skills? Hopefully. Does he need the ability to be a ball hawk and to take the ball? Yes, that would be great. Can he cover in zone and man? Please. Can he help in the run game? Does he love to tackle and play physically? Can he provide with me some blindside blitzes where, he's Palomalu or guys who get up in, Charles Woodson, and you just turn games because where did he come from? Why is he on my quarterback's back at this key third down situation? So I just named maybe the most versatile, I don't want to say niche, Dominic, but there are so many subsections of what makes a perfect safety. And with that, the more boxes you check, the more value you have on draft day or on contract day. And so if you can only do one thing, that's cool. There are a lot of guys that can only do one of those many things I listed, especially the deep high safety, like Xavier McKinney in Green Bay, who was at Alabama. I kind of think of him as kind of a one-thing guy. But if you can now check 3 boxes and you can play any of the levels, holy heck, who are you? What sort of cyborg are you? Almost Derwin James is kind of, he works from the line of scrimmage back. But there are a number of ways to skin this cat, Dominic, but it's one of those positions I get excited talking about.
Yeah, and you nailed it in terms of you named so many things.
Sorry.
But no, let's just also I want to make sure we point this out. You also left some things out.
Yeah.
So you're talking about value because of all of these things. You can't just cover. You can't just be a zone player. You can't just be a man player. You can't just play high. You can't just play low. It used to be, and you mentioned 1982 draft or whatever, any early draft, you used to just say, is he a box safety or is he a middle of the field safety? That was it, because everybody played one high. What offenses have done and what defenses have countered with is light boxes because of what offenses have done. So you had to play split field coverage and be able to disguise. Well, now offenses are getting bigger. So now you no longer can be a box safety because they'll exploit that. And you can't just be a deep middle safety because they'll exploit that. So now you needed to be a split field safety, a box safety, and you need to be able to cover in the slot area. So this used to not have a lot of value, and the Cowboys traditionally have not valued this position. They have not used it with their draft capital at all, and they have not paid these guys. And I think it's a big reason why they've been really bad at defense for so many years. They've made very poor decisions. They have not invested in it. And when they have, sort of taken a shot on guys, they've missed. But the value of this player is really going up. And this has never been considered a premium position. Corner, edge, quarterback, wide receiver. Am I leaving something out? Oh, tackle. And tackle. Yeah. Those are the premium positions. Well, I'm telling you, because of the evolution of the modern football game and the rise of the nickel position, which is now a starter, which we've established over the past maybe 5 to 10 years that nickel is base. Well, if nickel is base and you have to play a safety at big nickel now, and nickel is base and nickel is a starter, that's a premium position because that guy, because of all the boxes that you just mentioned that they have to do, why would that player not be paid the premium amount if he's going to be your number one run stopper, your number one pass defense player, and you just said even pressure, your Troy Polamalu's, your Derwin Jameses, these guys,
Minka Fitzpatrick.
Your Minka Fitzpatricks, these guys, this is becoming and this is for me, what should be considered a premium position. There's just not a lot of people that fit this box. Those names you said, the Derwin Jameses of the world, there's just not a lot of them out there. So, and there's one in this draft, obviously, we talked about already with Caleb Downs.
Yeah, and so you're right. The Cowboys have not invested. I wonder if they realize how few Swiss Army knives are out there, and then they say, well, if we could get one of those special ones, we would, but since we can't, we think the rest of them are best as, kind of a single job. I'm just trying to think from their point of view, like what would they say why they don't invest in it? Like Malik Hooker is not bad as a deep half or a deep center, safety. He just is. I don't want to be insulting. He exists. He does not get exposed. There is value in not being exposed and just doing your job, but there's nothing extra special about what you can do with him. Donovan Wilson is a different player altogether, but similarly of one skill set, and they kind of just ask him to do that, which is blow stuff up, I guess, in the flats and come down and help against the run, which of course they've have had varying levels of success. So even going back to Gerald Sensabaugh or Barry Church or all these guys through the years. It's just not been important.
So looking at, you just mentioned Donovan Wilson, 6th-round draft pick. Xavier Woods, 6th-round draft pick.
Yep.
Israel Mukwamu, 6th-round draft pick. Kayvon Frazier, 6th-round draft pick.
Barry
J.J.
Church,
Wilcox,
undrafted, right?
Barry Church, yes.
Okay.
So this is what I'm talking about is it's fine if you want to wait for the Derwin Jameses and then you don't get them. But you got to go somewhere before 6th round.
Well,
there's got to be somewhere in between. Byron Jones would be the guy that they took him in the 1st round. He ended up being a corner. That's literally the only player that I could find that where they said, "Hey, we're going to give this guy, the value that the position has." That they decided.
They couldn't get him off safety fast enough because
then they moved him to corner, and so
it's almost like their day 3 safeties. They almost pick them on who can cover kicks and punts the best, and maybe he can also play safety for us. Like they're looking for special team aces sometimes, and C.J. Goodwin cannot lose his roster spot as that sort of guy. But how is he helping my defense? Would always be my question.
And what I'm saying is you can't do that anymore. You can't. You're 10 years behind in understanding. When you try to play, what was the kid? Jeff Heath. You try to play Jeff Heath at safety, your defense will be exposed. And I love Jeff Heath. I actually coached with the guy who coached him in college, and this isn't an attack on a single player. It's just like you said, you can't decide anymore that my guy that can cover kicks is also going to be my starting safety.
Right.
That position means too much in today's game.
I can't have you mention Jeff Heath without pointing out that his family was emailing me at one point, taking issue for me being a little difficult on Jeff. So no hard feelings to the Heath family if you're still out there. He was a good Cowboy, especially given the price that they put into him. All right, so let's rank our safeties. You're going to go from 5 to 1. I'm going to let you cook. I have my own 5 to 1. I bet you, as usual, the second guy will have somebody on his list that the first guy doesn't even have ranked. But let's see where it takes us, and I'm eager to hear what you got.
Okay, I'm going to go with what drives the translation from college to pro. Just what I look for, and they're all varying ways of what you just said, but just a little bit more descriptive or precise. Range and angles, eye discipline, route recognition, ability to match patterns down the field, and run fit. So those are the 3 things that you're looking for. Run fit would obviously be tackling, being able to tackle in space, tackle in the box. But a guy who has great range and plays with good angles, eye discipline, because there's going to be a lot that the offenses are going to try to do to exploit your eyes and get you to looking at things that you shouldn't be looking at with shifts and motions. Recognizing routes or the patterns as they distribute, and then the ability to just run with guys and change direction in space when these guys are really good. Some of the false positives, some of the things that where you may miss on a guy because you see, oh, he's a big hitter. Guy's a big hitter. He's dislodging the ball a lot on big hits, but if he misses a lot of tackles, does it balance out? Do all these big hits? You'd rather have a guy, be a sure tackler, a 90% tackler, and not make a bunch of big hits than a guy that's a big hitter, but every drive he's missing one tackle. Missed tackles from, like you said, this is the safety position. Missed tackles as a safety, they aren't equal to missed tackles as a defensive lineman. If I miss tackle as a safety, it's a touchdown. It's 6 points.
Yeah, if I was a coach, I would try to remind players to understand why we call you guys safety.
Right.
So I love risk. Mm-hmm. I love you trying to be aggressive. But bro, if you move, if you miss, it's a touchdown. And if we give up a touchdown here, we lose. So you are a safety. Understand the risk involved when you decide to put the game on the line, jumping a route. You have to know what's at stake. And so
and that
football,
could kill you.
Football
IQ
is huge.
Yes.
At this position, you better be smart.
Right. And that can kill you in an evaluation because if you throw on a tape and you see, this guy, sideline to sideline and making these hits, and you're not going to put missed tackles on a reel, right? So if a guy's missing tackles, it's a lot more detrimental to your defense than the asset of his big hits.
We don't call the position risky. We call it safety.
We call it safety, right? Interceptions from bad quarterback play. If you watch a guy, there might be some tipped ball. There might be a lot of pressure. A guy that plays with a good D line, and I'm not saying this is true, but say it's Miami's. You're watching Miami's safeties where they got Messidor and the other number 4 Bain off the edge. It's like, okay, if there's 4 interceptions from Bain's pressures, that may give me a false positive on a safety not being as good.
Very fair.
And then just chaos and playmaking without discipline. Safeties have to be, if you're not talking about linebacker or like middle linebacker, the most disciplined players on the field. There's no one that has to play with better leverage, understanding of leverage and space than your safety. So if they're making plays, but you're, I think of, rest in peace, Sean Taylor was the greatest player that I ever played against and with. He had a uncanny ability to go do something that he wasn't supposed to be doing and end up with the ball in his hands as a defensive player. It was unbelievable. And he was able to be incredibly chaotic in his playmaking without discipline, but he was so physically gifted that it never came back to haunt him. There's other guys who try to do the same thing, but they don't have the physical gifts, and so that can get you in terms of your evaluation. You're seeing a guy make a lot of plays, but you don't know, is he supposed to be in that space? Is that where he's coached to be? If he gets into a defensive situation in the NFL where a coach is expecting maybe something different from his college coach from a scheme standpoint, even Troy Polamalu is another example of, Dick LeBeau was able to mold the defense around his playmaking ability and allow him to roam free. Well, all the defenses aren't that way. You got to have some sort of discipline.
That's right.
So,
all right, man.
So I'll get to my 5. Number 5, Kamari Ramsey at USC. Love the player. Obviously, had to watch him up close and personal as he transferred from UCLA to USC. One reason why I probably slid him in at 5. I could easily probably or likely have him at 6 or 7. There's a couple other guys for that 5 spot. But one was seeing him, and I'll tell you, I'm actually influenced from watching the safety that's at Houston now. Caleb, man, I'm drawing a blank on oh my gosh. He's a Pro Bowler this year. Yeah, the Texans safety that played at SC also. Kalen Bullock. Kalen Bullock.
Yeah,
okay.
That's
so
right.
I watched Kalen Bullock for 2 years, and then Kamari Ramsey came in. Kalen Bullock played in a defensive system that wasn't very good, and I knew he was a really good player. Kamari Ramsey came in. He made more plays than Kalen Bullock, and now I'm watching in real time Kalen Bullock becoming a Pro Bowler with the Texans. And I'm going, well, if Kamari Ramsey makes more plays than Kalen Bullock, there's got to be something there. But he does, when you watch his tape, he does lack explosion. He lacks length. His production declined in 25 this past season, but they moved him to really a nickel role. And he had been playing, the table. He had been a kind of a deep middle safety or quarter safety in years past. So I saw that actually as a plus for me, because one thing that I hadn't talked about yet is comfort in being in different spaces is really important. As a safety, because when you do get to the NFL, coordinators will expose you to get to those. They're going to get you to those spaces.
That's right.
I can't just have you play quarter safety all the time. I can't just have you play slot safety all the time. I got to move you in order for them to not exploit you. So having a guy having done that in college, I think is really important. And so seeing him do that and make that transition, I thought that it kind of gave him extra points for me. But high production, really good player. I slid him in there at 5. I struggled at 5. All my other spots I feel really good about, but 5 was a tough one for me.
My only issue with Ramsey is just how can he cover everybody? It feels like there's some hips that might make the more elite movers at the wide receiver position a problem, but that's not uncommon at this position. So we have to be reasonable. We can't just hop on Madden and design a player. Everyone's going to have a little something that makes us wonder. Yeah. And my wondering about him is the fluid hips that I'm looking for. Again, this is more, do you have corner hips or do you have linebacker hips? And, as we move that slider around, he's a little like the LSU guy in that he's built like a running back, maybe not as bad as the LSU guy. The LSU guy is just Hulsey. He's just a flat-out running back playing safety out there, which is great. There's a lot of great to it. The downside is, how are you going to cover Smith and Jigba or Puka Nacua and guys like that? So anyway,
that's exactly how I felt. There is no sit up and, oh man, this guy is explosive. He's making plays, he's producing, but there's just not, you don't see the explosiveness in his movements, his change of direction, even going up for balls. You can see guys are out jumping him and things like that sort of give you some pause. But the production for me outweighed. And again, like I said, watching the Texans guy become a Pro Bowler, and then watching this guy in the same jersey on the same field make more plays than him really influenced my I just think he's a player. I think he's one of those guys that maybe, again, this being tape over traits, he may be one of those guys that just is a ball player and the traits aren't going to jump off the page. But
playmaking safeties. That's a nice thing to have. I would love 1 or 2 of those in Dallas. Okay, he's my number 6, but please go on to number 4.
Okay, number 4, Treydan Stukes from Arizona.
Okay, so
this is Treydan.
Treydan, I believe. Treydan. So this is one of the several. Is he a corner? Is he a safety? Mm-hmm. You put him as a safety, and I like the idea quite a bit. Tell us about him.
I did. So, in what you just said, he has 500 snaps at safety, 1,000 snaps at slot, and 1,000 snaps at boundary corner. That makes me excited because, I just said, if anything, I know he's comfortable being anywhere. And so I know he's not going to be exposed if he gets to those spaces, if the offense tries to move him or formation him somewhere. And I just think he's an elite athlete with size, burst, and recovery speed. He's an older player with some injury history. So that may,
we do have some older players in this group.
Yeah, that may hold you out a little bit. But just, again, I think for where this game is going, just the modern football game, this is the guy that you want. He's explosive at the catch point. He's an explosive athlete. His click and close is great.
Yeah.
One of the tops in this class. His speed is good, and and not a lot of penalties. I mentioned with the cornerback group, looking at the penalties is a definite translation driver. Guys who get a lot of holds kind of will tell you something that they're not going to be able to get away with at the NFL level because it's called a lot tighter. So this was my number 4.
I love it. I didn't even think about that. I moved somebody else to safety from corner, but I want to see if you have him on your list as well. But
okay, I'll get to number 3.
But go to number 3, sir.
Okay, number 3, and I love this kid. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is my number 3 from Toledo.
Yes.
The kid is 6'3", which is kind of
Huge.
freaky. Yeah, it's freaky. Imposing build, really long arms. Only allowed 3 receptions for positive yards this year on 16 targets. We talked about this with the linebacker group. He has 11 career forced fumbles. Okay, that's the most from any DB since 2022. So that's telling you a lot in terms of his playmaking ability. And when we talked about a lot about if getting the ball for your offense is an important trait, and it's a gift that some guys have, and it's just a knack that, I don't know that I don't want to say it can't be coached, but I know that there's certain guys that just have a special, again, we talked about Peanut Tillman. Certain guys just know there's a timing that goes to stripping the football and impacting the football, and he definitely has it. This guy's a great athlete, or at least a very good athlete.
Oh yeah.
I worry a little bit about like his pedal out in space looks a little clunky. It's it's a bigger body. That's, again, like with anything, you're gonna have some give and take. There's a little room to improve there, and just his movement capabilities. But yeah, man, this is a player you obviously you'd love to see him against SEC talent or something like that. That may knock some people off of him from these next 2 guys that are playing at elite levels against in elite leagues. But
yeah, the thing that jumped out with McNeil-Warren for me was how much Toledo played him deep. Mm-hmm. And so I did not, you see 6'3" and basically 210, and you're like, okay, so this guy's going to be causing trouble up in the box and things of that nature. And they kind of did the opposite. I wasn't ready for his deployment quite like they utilized, and I would love to see. I mean, you mentioned you play at Toledo. You're not playing against the freaks of Sunday, and that it's a gradual thing. But obviously, every time people talk about McNeil-Warren, they're going to talk about Quinyon Mitchell. And Quinyon Mitchell was at Toledo, where they were teammates, and Quinyon had a chance to portal out. McNeil-Warren had a chance to portal out. They both stayed at Toledo. So that was a curiosity, because we see almost nobody now from these mid-majors stay their entire time there because they're on the path to the draft, right? And so when they stay there, we find that curious. We have almost no mid-majors or D2 or D3 anymore in the top 100 of the draft. They just don't exist. And so when somebody does exist, we have that awkward eye a little bit, like, what's going on here? Then they play him deep. Now, he's very, very smart. I really, I really like the instincts. I like him a lot. I just never really saw enough in the box to get a real strong feel for him, at least at the level of the top two players. So he's my third as well. But I feel like the distance between 2 and 3 is a pretty decent gap for me.
Yeah,
I don't know if you.
I would say,
way.
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And for me, it probably comes down to, like you said, if he was playing and doing those same things in one of the elite conferences,
Right.
I probably would say okay. But when I turn on Toledo tape, I want to see literally all the things. Like
Yes.
it needs to make me sit up. It needs to, and so if it's not that level, then I can't quite, I can't quite put the total stamp to it. So
Okay, so if you and I don't if we don't have the top two the same, then we have a story here, because I think these top two are pretty special.
Yeah, these guys are special. So Dillon Thieneman from Oregon. This is, again, talking about modern day football. This is everything that you want in a modern day safety. He can play nickel. He can play safety. He has great vision and single high. He can be your 2 high safety. If you need him in the box, if you need to play, like I said, big nickel, and he's your 3rd safety out there. He's that. Killed the combine, did everything that you could ever ask of a safety from a combine. I mean, this is the perfect example. And playing in a Dan Lanning defense, this is the perfect scenario of a first round safety. This is exactly what you want. You want him to play at a high level. You want him to play against great players. You want to see them tackle in space. He leads the FBA, the FBS in tackles with 26 on screens and flares in the past 2 years. So he's a solid tackler in space. Doesn't miss a lot of tackles or get tackles broken. And so, man, he's literally the only negative I could have on him is you don't see him play press coverage. He only had 15 career press coverage snaps, which I will say, of the Emmanuel, he was great in press coverage for a 6'3" guy. He's really good in press coverage. But then again, I said he's at Toledo. He should be. That's probably a great physical advantage. But that's the only thing that I had on him. He's kind of average size, but this is the guy you want to go get. In the rare chance that you go get a first round safety.
Yeah, love Thieneman. He's phenomenal. There's a play against Texas Tech, and I think I tweeted it out when I saw it. You want to talk about sit up in your chair? Texas Tech is sort of trying to mind screw Oregon a little bit with some pre-snap, and I think they have trips, and they even put a running back over there, and he's playing deep half on the other half. So think about how far away he is from the action. He's on the weak side, deep half, really, 15 yards at least off the ball. And the second he sees that motion, he triggers and fires like a freaking freight train diagonally and just blows the play up. And so what that tells me is this dude is in his film. He's in his studies all week, and he sees something and he's like, I know this play. And just to have a safety that confident in what he's doing, and you see it a lot, but on that play it all crystallizes to a point where, like, okay, I see what I'm doing here. And then you have the guy who can play at all 3 levels, is an elite athlete, as you said. So you don't have to talk me into Dillon Thieneman from Oregon, also 2 years at Purdue in front of that.
I wanted to say, too, at Purdue, completely different scheme and incredibly productive there also.
Yes.
So that's letting me know sort of the mental capacity, his football IQ. Again, when I say like the perfect first round safety, like this is it. Because I know I've watched him do it. I've watched him play in multiple schemes. I've watched him play in multiple roles, and I've watched him actually be successful doing it. Then he goes to the combine, and I find out he's also a freak athlete.
Yes.
So he checks all the boxes there. He checks all the boxes in film. This is a no-brainer to me.
Okay, so here's my question to you, and this is a big one because I've been wrestling with this today.
Yeah.
If I want Dillon Thieneman, I think I have to take him at 12.
Yeah.
Because I think he's gone by 20.
Yeah.
And I really, really, really want him. But is 12 crazy?
That's too rich for my blood, man.
It is for me too, but
I can't take him at 12. I
do you agree he's gone by 20?
I want to trade back to like 18. I want to get him at around 18.
let me help you with this. 18 is not moving because that's the one. And again, I realize there's a lot of smoke this time of year, and you shouldn't believe it all. But I have followed the NFC North my entire life. I know when a player has an entire fan base out of their minds, and let me just say, the Minnesota Vikings are taking this guy.
Yeah,
they believe that Harrison Smith has a son named Dillon Thieneman, and because Harrison Smith is gone, and I know people are thinking I'm lunch pailing him, but I'm just telling you, they want this safety at 18. And 100%. So if you want Dillon Thieneman, I'm predicting you're going to have to take him at 12, which feels rich.
Yeah,
but I will be bummed if he gets that close to 20 and he's snagged by Minnesota. So
I sweat this out. No, that's a great because I sweat that out on every mock draft that I do, and I want to go back to again somewhere. 12 is too much.
Right.
But like 15 to 18, I can do it, Right. And so I don't think I could do it at 12. But
maybe.
I also, like you said, I don't think he's getting to 20. I would be surprised.
But it's not impossible.
It's not. No, it is not impossible.
So I do want to say, hearing a team is interested at 18. Of course they are. He's a great player, but they're probably also interested in 5 other guys, and so we should not necessarily freak out about that. But that's the one I've thought about: is if I want this guy, do I have to do something crazy? Maybe the answer is trade back from 12 to 16 or 17.
Correct.
Still get him and pick up a second or a third as well. That would be ideal.
That's it. If you can do that, that's what you do. I want to get to like 16, 17 and go get him, but I can't do it at 12. Caleb Downs, the next player, our consensus number 1.
Number 1.
If he's there at 12, you take him and you try to sign him up for as long as he'll play football with a star on his helmet. This guy, if you guys don't know him, you're probably not listening to this podcast. It would be really strange for you to be listening to this podcast and need us to tell you about Caleb Downs. The kid came into college with the most sterling resume that you could ever have, which is Nick Saban on day 1 made him number 1 on the depth chart. This is the greatest defensive coach that ever existed and the hardest on his defensive backs. And this kid walked in and was Nick Saban's guy from the second that he stepped foot on Alabama's campus. And then he delivered on every single occasion, on every turn. This guy does everything. He's everything you want in the modern safety. He's a nickel. He's a corner. He's a linebacker. He's a blitzer. He's a playmaker. He is just so special. I really thought coming into this year he was the best football player in college, period. I definitely thought he was the number 1 defensive player, and I thought Arvell Reese actually passed him during the season. I think I said this on the linebacker podcast that at some point I felt like Arvell Reese was outplaying him, but man, if you can get him at 12, you absolutely take him because this guy is so special. He's so good. He does everything that you want him to do. He also has 2 career punt return touchdowns. He's just special. He's just I can go on and I'm not going to.
Yeah, if you have an elite traits with elite production and also just a brilliant processor, you don't overthink it. Your report doesn't have to be long. You just say this is the dude. This is an easy high first round, and yes, he's in the running for best player in the draft. So he's Caleb Downs. So your top 5: Ramsey 5, Stukes 4, McNeil-Warren 3, Thieneman 2, Downs 1. So let me counter.
Where do we differ? Yeah.
Well, 1 through 3 are the same.
Okay.
So now 4 and 5, which it sounds like you were a little bit. We're both looking at a pool of guys, and it's I could be talked into 4 and 5 anywhere, but I will tell you the 2 that jumped out at me. Oh, I still have to do TCU's Bud Clark. He fell through the cracks, and so I did not lay enough eyes on him. But I did 7 or 8 of these safeties up top, and my 2 favorites outside of the top 3. At number 5, I liked Zakee Wheatley from Penn State. Okay. Now, he's an older dude, but very solid safety across the board. I like him as a box safety. I will confess to that. And, the deeper you play him, the more ordinary he gets, which isn't always a great thing to target. But at number 5, I'm thinking this is probably a deep second round guy. But boy, do I love him in the box. I love him around the ball, big and fluid, sees things well. I think he can move him around a good deal. 0 penalties as a college player. And just very competent and experienced in that Penn State defense, and that all is what I'm looking for. Now he's older. We do need to see some numbers on him to verify the traits, but I liked Zakee Wheatley, and that would be at number 5 for me. Did you have any thoughts on him?
I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have anything.
Okay, and then at number 4, dude, I love. Don't honestly know if there's a ton of versatility in terms of can I play him deep? Can I play him at corner? I don't know. He is a corner, but Miami never played him on the outside.
Yeah.
I like everything about Keionte Scott. I just do. Yeah. He's a stud. The age is the age. He certainly did not have a direct path to Miami. As he's been around the block a little bit, and let's see, where did he start? Oh, 3 years at Auburn. That's right. And when he was at Auburn, he's a guy, because they kind of played him on the outside. Miami moved him into that Swiss Army knife to that star position, and I freaking love him. Boy, his game against Texas A&M in the playoff. He was just all over it. He can sniff out plays. He plays with an edge. He goes and gets that ball. He blitzes. He does all the things I like. I mean, you want to talk about a Bob Sturm safety, a guy that that just fits my eye. Keionte Scott, dude. So
yeah, if you put him in my pool of players, he absolutely breaks this, in that 4 or 5 range.
Okay.
There's no question. Yeah, if I had him as a safety, he would be.
Why didn't you? You like him as a corner more?
I liked him. I had him when I was going through corners. I had him in my corner bucket.
Okay.
And so I didn't think of him. And I will say, it probably makes sense because I do think he's like the ultimate nickel of like what you want in terms of just his movement, his abrupt acceleration and off coverage. His closing burst, he seems to have a deep understanding of routes, and so this is a very good player that he would be in my top 5 if I did have him in that bucket. So yeah, loved him. That's a very good one, and I like that you brought him up because I'm not sure if we brought him up when we mentioned corners, and so
and he probably
deserves a mention.
Yeah, and for me, probably not a top 5 corner.
No, that's where I think I had him at I think I had him at 6 or 7 because I had him as a nickel corner, sort of.
Yeah,
and so
kind of like Stukes
I probably
for me.
Should have moved him. Yeah, I probably should have moved him to safety because he would have slid into this top 5. But I think having the USC kid there, and I wanted to slide him in at 5.
It's all good, man.
So for ones we didn't touch on that are getting a lot of sort of buzz, the AJ Halsey kid, you mentioned him earlier.
I don't hate him.
I just didn't love it. I did not love the tape, man. I really did.
Yeah.
He's not for top 5. I thought he's a good player, but some people have him in the top 5, and I don't see it. I don't see it.
No, I don't see that. Around late third or so, he is going to be a guy who can blow things up in special teams and maybe work his way in. I see that build. I see that running back build and those hips, and I just don't know that the NFL can handle that sort of thing. But he's not in the top tier or even in tier 2 for me.
Yeah, and then Jalen Kilgore, the kid from South Carolina.
Yes.
That's another one I didn't personally love, but that's one that he went to the Senior Bowl, is getting a lot of love, and it's probably warranted that he gets the love, but not from us, not from our top 5. Right. And then I did want to mention a couple guys that are in the typical Cowboys role where they look to go get a guy, which is around the 6th round, like the kid from Texas. Michael Taff. I would say look out for him late, and then
I don't disagree.
I love a kid, Xavier Wongpa. If you look at him for Iowa safety, he's the guy that popped in our RAS testing, for his pro day. He's one of the top RAS guys as a safety. And so, just be looking for him in late rounds, just kind of an outlier. Again, nowhere near like our top 5 range or anything like that, but where the Cowboys have taken guys in the past in that 6th, 7th round space, or even as a free agent. I think Michael Taff is a good player that could do some things. And I thought Xavier Wongpa, another good player, played in a good scheme, is going to be well coached and really smart player, and got some athletic traits that could get him into being a solid NFL player.
Dig it. Well, that's good stuff. Let's stop there. And next time we meet up, it'll be defensive tackles. And after that, we better get to the offensive side of the ball. And like I said, I don't know if we'll do 5 offensive episodes. We might reduce that a little bit and then leave some time for big board or revisions or simulations or something like that. But I saw the calendar today, and it is 31 days to draft day. So
let's go.
Yes, let's go indeed. We have pretty much gone through March, and now the final few steps and cross checks and rethinks and group sessions will be underway. There are your safeties, and that is Tape Over Traits episode 4. Thank you for joining us, and look for episode 5 coming soon. So long, everybody.